Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Raptors Report podcast with Julian and Steve. Hello again, Steve.
Hello,
And
Julian. Hello, everybody.
condolences.
It's over.
Condolences. Yeah, it's done. We are finally past the summer league, and unfortunately, the Toronto Raptors they died in the semifinals. They weren't able to advance to the final round or win a summer league championship. And I know a lot of you were curious because I was wondering whether the Raptors had ever won a summer league title. And unfortunately, it turns out that the Toronto Raptors have not. They have not won a summer league title ever. And so, we're just going to have to wait another day. I thought this team was stacked.
I know it started to feel like the dream team, but we ran into a Kings team that had an average age of 24. It, it's
Yeah, and we were missing our ringer. The Raptors were
exactly.
missing the guy who, the summer league vet,
Yeah.
AJ Lawson, who's also 25
Yep.
and was certainly, in my opinion, the best summer league Raptor. He, I believe, was averaging the most points. He had a really, really good summer league. He was pretty much the main cog that made the Toronto Raptors offense work, and he was pretty good on defense as well. So, in all, it was a disappointing end to a really fun summer league. So I'm not going to, complain too much about it because there are a lot of really good takeaways. There are a lot of really fun things that happened, a lot of standout performances. We're going to get into that. Um, but just in general, your thoughts on the summer league and whether you are satisfied with what you saw.
Yeah. I mean, my initial thoughts were that it was super fun. It was cool to invest in a group that actually was real big tryhards on defense. Offensively, they have obviously a lot to work on, but it was pretty easy to get behind this group. So that was definitely fun. Not making it to the final at this point, I don't really care. Everybody leaves Vegas by then, and it's just kind of the teams that are left over. It's kind of becomes an afterthought. I think Charlotte won.
Yeah,
I don't even really know.
Charlotte won, and Con won Summer League MVP. So yeah, congrats to him.
Hmm.
And the Hornets are looking like kind of like an up and coming team. I'm actually kind of impressed by what they're
Yeah,
doing.
they had a
Uh,
great draft. Yeah.
they had a really good draft, and but in terms of what the Raptors were able to do, just the style that they played was just really really fun. I don't know if you felt the same way. Obviously, at times there were struggles in the half court offense, but in terms of like watching the team and the compete level, I think it was really interesting to watch this group go out there and really fight on every possession.
Yeah, it was like smash mouth basketball. I don't remember the exact number of turnovers they had through
Oh
the
yeah.
those first four games. Like, but it was crazy. It was like over 80, maybe into 100, just on every player like a dog. It was really fun to watch. It was fun to watch kind of a defensive identity kind of come back to the team after what we've seen the last 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are going to be getting into a little segment that we're going to be doing here, and it is called Stonks Up and Stonks Down. And I'm sure you're familiar with that
Stonks.
dumbass Stonks meme. And the general gist behind it is that there are a couple of players who did a good job of kind of raising their profile and improving and showing that maybe there's a little bit extra juice to squeeze there. And there are a couple of players that kind of did the opposite and kind of, disappointed in one way or another. It doesn't have to mean that these players are either surefire superstars or that they're complete bums or anything like that. It's just that maybe the evaluation, the math, changed the most significantly for that player. And so we're going to start off the segment by looking at the players who really kind of improved their stock. And we've already mentioned this guy already. The guy I'm talking about is obviously AJ Lawson. And AJ Lawson was easily the best Summer League Raptor, in my opinion. And when I found out that they did not have him for that semifinal game, you really kind of had to think that they maybe weren't as favored to win just because of how good he was. What were your thoughts on AJ Lawson and his performance this summer?
I think he's making a real good case to be one of those to grab that one of those final spots for the team, which I think he made a good case at the end of the season last year. Which I know it was like not a lot of important winning basketball, but he really came out and continued delivering it and took a lot of leadership, which is exactly what you want to see from a guy who he turned 25 during the summer
Yes,
league.
yeah, he had
Yeah,
his birthday, and
people
if
they
you
were serenading him with some happy birthday.
that was
Yeah,
definitely one of the best moments. And there was like a blowout. Well, not actually a blowout. I think in the fourth game was when he had his birthday,
yeah.
and they were winning by not double digits, two possessions, and instead of taking an open shot at the very end of the game, he drove to the lane and got fouled and was sent to the line. And in my opinion, my theory was that he just wanted to hear them say his happy birthday to him again, which they did. What was very interesting about AJ Lawson was the creation ability. I think that was really the special sauce in the half court that allowed them to look, better than miserable. Because when he was out, they really struggled to create. His ability to put the ball on the floor and also be an outlet for other people's creation. So Jamal Shed and the other guards on the team were able to find him in the corner mostly, but also they ran some screen action for him off of the ball where he would come off of a screen and shoot it. He was just a really solid, dependable player. And it's not, so we'll get into the caveats here because we've already mentioned it. His age, 25, he's been around the Summer League multiple times. And so it is kind of expected that a player of his age would be um, you know, doing what he did, which is, school all the youngsters. But at the same time, I liked what I saw. And the shooting numbers and the shooting splits were quite good. As you can see, 50% from the field, 45% from three, and 76% from the line. That's really good. 45% from three. And we all saw him last season. It wasn't like he was a slouch. I mean, he pretty much earned that. It was between him and Jared Rhoden. And he was able to secure that final two-way spot or guaranteed deal, excuse me. And he is under contract for next season. Obviously, he has to make it through training camp, but it looks like he is one of the guys that's on the bubble, and he didn't eliminate himself. So from that standpoint, he did improve his stock. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah, go ahead.
he did exactly what he needed to do was show that he can shoot. 45% from three is no joke, and he did it on like 5 attempts or something. Like it was high volume. And that's exactly what he would need to be if he's going to come into the team. He needs to be a guy that's going to come in, hit, maybe go 2 of 3 on some shots and provide like a very small spark in a run. He did great getting out in transition, which was what that entire identity of that team was force turnovers, get out in transition. He was good at making the next pass. I think he did exactly what he needed to do to continue to impress the coaches and the front office. So I mean, it was a big win for him. It was a great performance.
Yeah, absolutely. And the interesting part is just whether he's going to be able to be a contributor off of the bench next season.
Hmm.
I'm sure that's, on the top of everybody's mind. Like, is this going to translate to a spot in the rotation? And if it doesn't, Canadian kid, hopefully he lands on his feet somewhere, and hopefully he's good enough to stay with the Raptors. Okay, now we're going to get to the next player on the list. And although he did not have an incredible end to the Summer League tournament, he did have a very good start to the tournament. And he did show quite a bit during the Summer League, enough so that he definitely, his stonks are on the rise, in my opinion. What did you see from Shamshay that, piqued your attention?
His feel was so much improved compared to any other time I'd seen him play basketball. He still did the stuff that like is his natural abilities of some good rim protection, meeting players at the rim, picking up players at the perimeter and really staying with them. He did all of those great defensive things you want from him, but his feel on offense was awesome. And he had two or three highlight reel passes that I'm sure everybody saw on Twitter, on YouTube, all over the place because he had a couple crazy transition. Like he had that one where he wrapped it around the guy that I think we covered the other week. Um, he just feel he's getting more used to just being a basketball player. And to me, he seems like he's ahead of schedule from what we would have expected from him as a project player. So to me, it's looking great. I'm hoping he gets some run with the big club. I'm hoping he gets some of those backup five split minutes with Sandro. I hope they kind of split that time to get kind of more of a flavor of rim protection from Shamshay and then more of that shooting kind of creation from Sandro depending on what circumstance needs it. So yeah,
Yeah, I'm just showing the clip right now. It's just a really nice,
yeah,
as you mentioned, the feel
yeah.
is just so much further along than I had assumed it was, because this is very important, because we mention it when we're talking about AJ Lawson, who's 25. Shamshay is on the other end of the spectrum. Last season, he was the youngest player in the draft, excuse me. So probably the youngest player in the association. I'm not exactly sure, but
He was at the beginning of the season because he was still 18 for most of the season.
yeah, exactly. So when you're grading somebody and when you're looking at a player, age is super important. And if you're going to take points away from AJ Lawson, you got to add points on for Ulrich Chomshay, who showed a level of poise that I was not expecting. I was certainly not expecting him to be a contributor this summer league. I was expecting more rawness, and there certainly were some problems. So
Yep.
we'll get into that. The biggest issue that I saw was his unwillingness, it seemed, to finish with dunks around the rim, finishing strong around the rim. But when I mentioned that on Twitter, there were a bunch of really good comments that people brought it to my attention that his hand was hurt. And I mean, I didn't notice it, and I probably should have, but it looked like his hands were bandaged in some way. So that could be a consideration. Another theory I had was that it might be a footwork issue. I know that a lot of younger bigs, when they don't have all of the reps and they don't have the experience, a lot of the time the footwork isn't there. And power dribble into, jumping off at 2 feet and slamming it home with 2 hands, that is the ideal thing. Like, you would hope that at some point he's going to have that, because when you watch him, he's very large, super long arms, like a real 6'10". He
Yep.
might even still be growing, very broad shoulders. The man is like a beast. Like, you look at him, he is a physical specimen. So you would hope that in the future, this guy is going to be finishing strong. And then, of course, there were some issues, especially later in the tournament, where he was simply just kind of, rushing things. It just didn't feel as natural as the first couple of games. But again, we've got to talk about the age and the upside and where I expected him to be. There's no doubt in my mind that he is one of the guys that really took a step forward in terms of where I thought that they would be. So that's why he's on the list.
Yeah. Like I think if he had just looked like he did in the last game, I think the reaction from most people would still be like, "Oh, he looks decent."
Yeah.
Like I don't think there would be too much disappointment in if it was just how he was looking then, but to come out of the gate be very disruptive, be in the right place, right time, working some pick and roll with Shed, with Hepburn, with like a lot of stuff that we just it's further along. It's great.
Yeah. He attempted a couple of like he did a couple of really nice post entry feed bounce passes
Hmm.
to cutters. But he kind of spammed that move a little bit, and
He got
other
it. Yeah. He
teams
got
kind of
excited with
expected it,
it.
and
Yeah.
he got a couple of turnovers. But it was nice to see the first couple of times, and then quite obviously, where a center and a guy of his size is going to make the biggest difference is on defense and on the boards. And I think he did a good, especially defensively. I
Mhm.
think he did a really good job with almost 3 stocks in 20 minutes. That's really impressive. So he was definitely protecting the rim. And yeah, pretty impressed with him. Okay, so the flip side of the coin, I'm afraid, we have to go to the stonks down, the not stonks, the guys who perhaps did not impress relative to our expectations. And of course, the first person that we're going to be talking about, a guy who really did not have a very good tournament or summer league, Colin Castleton. So Colin Castleton, I mean, anybody who watched the team last season, especially down the stretch, got to see a healthy dose of Colin Castleton. And my thoughts on him were that he was, a solid stopgap player that could come in and eat minutes and was nothing special, but, did a decent job at the backup five. So I was thinking more of the same. And he is an older player too. He was a senior when he came out, and this is his second season in the league, or last season was. So I was thinking this guy's going to come in and he's going to school these whippersnappers. He's going to show these guys that he belongs in the league. He's going to be a real, like a force. And wow, he certainly was not. He was
Mhm.
quite poor. Um, what were your thoughts on Colin Castleton?
Yeah, I think the big thing, like, I mean, nobody would initially say, "Oh, I have such high hopes for Colin Castleton," because he was kind of added late at the end of the season. He's not a guy that we have a lot of our stock in already, but the opportunities that he was getting the starting spot every time over Shamshay, you start to think, okay, like, what do they see in him? And really, they're just giving them the opportunity to one more look to impress them. And every time he was missing shots, he was fouling like crazy. He would go up for, which was pretty crazy. He kept going up for one-armed rebounds while
Yeah,
bodying the other guy with his elbow. And then he would get called every time. And it's like he's been
he got called
in,
out on the broadcast
yeah, I remember. Yeah, they
multiple
were like,
times. They were kind of dissing him on the
they really
broadcast, like, "What
were.
is this guy doing? Why is he
Yeah.
going up?" And he was not securing rebounds at a rate that I like. I mean, when you look at his stats, like 4 rebounds a game in 11 minutes, that's pretty good. But in terms of the opportunities that he was getting, it seemed like he was flubbing them. I mean, you can just look at the stats. I mean, 11 minutes, 2.5 points, 33% from the field, 33% from three, 0% from the free throw line. I mean, he only took, like, I think it was 2 free
Yeah.
throws. 1.8 turnovers. Yeah, the turnovers were very concerning.
Yeah.
Catching the ball around the post, it seemed like he was better last season when he had the ball, especially compared to Orlando Robinson, who he earned the contract over, which is a bit surprising because I think Orlando Robinson was a better defender than Colin Castleton. But the fact that he was not turning the ball over and seemed like he could make some hook shots around the rim as opposed to Orlando Robinson, that's what gave him the nod. So, yeah,
Yeah, I
this
mean his highlight was cussing out, was it EJ
that's
Liddell or whatever?
yes,
If that's your highlight, which is like that's the only reason that I have this kind of gimmick love for Castleton is that he kind of has this like angry divorced dad energy on the court, and I
yeah,
just like I think that's hilarious. But when it's time to actually like win a game, you're like, okay, we're starting this guy. Like
yeah,
he came in for the final game there, and he got 3 fouls in like the first minute or
yeah.
something, right? And
It was brutal. It
I was
was
like, is
brutal.
this the plan? Like just hack and hack and hack to try to change the way the ref is going to blow the whistle? I don't know, but
Yeah,
yeah, he couldn't. And like like Pap says in the or D P Dap says in the chat here, he's not an NBA level player if we're being honest. He's somebody that maybe we hope for more in the summer league, but going
yeah.
forward, I would expect him to not come out of training camp on the team. But we'll see. They've made some decisions that I've blown
Baffling.
my mind in before, so
But
anything can happen.
we have to give him props to standing up for his teammate.
Definitely.
Obviously, Liddell Bush League foul on Jacoby Walter, fouled him while he was going up. And yeah, I mean, he got thrown out of the game, but he got an earful from Colin Castleton, who got right in his face and kind of, stood up for his teammate. So you know, I like to see that.
We
And
love that. Yeah.
no, you know, the NBA is the hardest league in the world. It's an extremely, extremely competitive league, and not everybody can get to the tippity top of the mountain.
Yep.
And unfortunately, it looks like this is kind of maybe the last stop for Colin Castleton. And yeah, I mean, we could keep going on and on and on, but let's call it there. We will go to the next player, and this is a little controversial because there were a couple of players who, in terms of like the stats and everything, maybe you could make a case that Mobo wasn't one of the players who deserves to be on this list, but we will give it to Jonathan Mobo. And there are a couple of reasons for this. So Jonathan Mobo, there were some very good things about Jonathan Mobo. First of all, the defense was very good. Okay. 1.8 stocks. And he was, you know, he can switch out onto the perimeter. He can play under the rim. 5 rebounds in 22 minutes. That's pretty good. And he has good vision, and he's a good transition player. That was one of the things that he did. However, he definitely showed his limitations. And in Summer League, this is an opportunity for players who are on the bubble to show you something that, you know, they wouldn't be able to show you in the NBA because they're playing a role. You're hoping that they can blossom and show you a larger portion of what they bring to the table, like shooting, finishing outside of dunks. Those were the two things that I really wanted to see from Jonathan Mobo. And as you can see, 0% from 3. He did attempt a couple of threes, and he finished mainly, he had a high field goal percentage pretty much because he would dunk the ball in transition or catch a lob and whatnot. And he didn't really show how he could contribute on offense. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, like, it was good to see him dunk everything because it's like, yeah, that's how you're going to get your points. But he he's 24 almost now, and you just expect and hope for more from him if he's going to continue with the Raptors. He's in a position where there is a minutes crunch in that backup 4, backup small ball 5 kind of area, and CMB has come in, and there's probably a lot of pressure on a guy like Mobo. It's really a prove it year for him if he's going to stick around with the team and potentially the league. And I would have just hoped that he would come out showing a little bit more that he's developed, that he's worked on, instead of just knuckling down on stuff that he was already basically good at. His defense was still good. He was still disruptive.
Right.
But I think the standard I had for him was just a bit higher than the people who are 20, the
Absolutely.
people who are 19, you know. You really want him to come in, and he was a great leader off the bench. There was a lot of clips of when he sat out that one game injured. And you know, he was talking, he was calling out, he was coaching from the sidelines. Nobody's thinking he's not a good teammate, but I would have hoped for more maturity to his game where he's not late on reads, getting stuck low on the baseline with nowhere to go. There was a couple of those moments where you're like, I hope that you were more developed by now.
Yeah. And one of the things that I wanted to see from him, of course, 3-point shooting is something that you would really hope for a player who's not true 5-sized. You'd want him to be able to play next to a guy like, say, Jakob Poeltl. Obviously would help playing next to Scotty Barnes. But the thing that kind of disappointed me the most was how loose his handle was. And if you're going to, like, one of the things that impresses me about Mobo is the fact that he does have good vision. He can, when he gets the ball in the post, he can make high level reads and pretty good passes. But one of the ways that you actually make that skill pop, like a very synergistic skill along with vision, is the ability to handle the ball. And his handle, like, he turned it over way too much, like 1.3 assists to almost 2 turnovers. And a lot of those were simply just, he was handling the ball and he would get stripped, or he'd like dribble it off his foot or lose control of it. Just not something you want to see. So while I'm not writing him off just yet, just like Colin Castleton, I think we can probably say that he's probably not going to make the team. Mobo, I assume he'll be in training camp. He'll have a chance to show that he belongs. I was just this guy is a little bit of a letdown. And there were two other guys, honorable mentions, in that I expected a little bit more from them. And it's really only about the counting stats because when I watched them play, I was happy, but after looking at their stats, I was a little kind of, I thought they would be better, was Jacoby Walter and Jamal Shed. And obviously those two guys, very good defensively. They played really hard. But the shooting stats for both of them kind of was not where I was hoping. I was hoping that those guys like Jacoby Walter was going to be a little bit more consistent from three. So that's it. That is the segment. Stonks up, stonks down. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about our choices. Do you think we were too harsh on somebody, too complimentary to somebody else? Do you think we should have given somebody else some shine? Let us know in the comments. But yeah, that's kind of the segment there. We'll probably do a couple of those in the future. But why don't we get into the kind of like meat and potatoes? We got to talk about the guy, our bread and butter here, the player that really everybody wants to talk about. And that, of course, is Collin Murray-Boyles. The other Colin Castleton, Collin Murray-Boyles, right?
Yeah, they kept referencing Collin, and it was like when you say something bad, it's that Collin, and then if there's something good, it's this Collin. He's the good Collin.
Absolutely. Okay, so in terms of what I was expecting, so there's a reason why he's not on the Stonks Up, is because I feel like he performed to my expectations, which is good. That's not a diss, by the way. That is not me slagging on him. That's me saying I expected something from him, and he pretty much delivered what I was expecting. How about you?
Yeah, he did basically exactly what I was expecting. He missed a couple threes badly. He hit a couple threes as I was expecting. Played phenomenal defense. He had a nice big game where he was either the leading scorer for us or the second leading scorer for us. And he mostly was just all over the place, disruptive. Still a little bit of feel, a little bit of conditioning issues. It looks like right now, but yeah, I mean, pretty much as expected. Really impressive in that one game, and then as expected, the other games.
Yeah, one of the things that I really like about him is that he's kind of like a vet almost. Like he's like a guy that you really kind of just feel comfortable watching on the floor. And he makes a lot of, like, as you said, like really high level reads. He does a lot of stuff that is something that you would expect from like a 10-year pro. So great passing, solid and cerebral defense, where he is making just like very solid decisions with the ball. And on defense, the man is a very talented defender. So his ability, he has very long arms, very long wingspan. He's not the greatest athlete, but he can move his feet laterally very well on the perimeter. He guards the basket. The guy is just like a really talented defender. He can play on the outside. He can play on the inside. And one of the things that sort of popped to me was that kind of what he's doing without having elite athleticism. And I think that that is the one negative that I see from him as a player, is that, and in the highlight, it just shows him dunking the ball. But I think a lot of the time when he dunks and makes those easy dunks, it's due to the fact that he has like a really good wingspan. His wingspan, his arms are really long. He has a really high standing reach. So he can dunk it pretty easily. He's just not like jumping out of the gym to do it. He's kind of a little ground bound, which is, you know, like everybody can contribute in a different way. So it's not like I'm just completely dissing the guy, but that is one thing that I've got to mention.
Yeah, but one thing it doesn't really affect is his ability to rebound because of how strong he is, and
Yeah.
he's got those long arms. So I think as long as, I mean, one of his greatest abilities is rebounding, so he's at least has enough vertical pop to get up and grab a rebound. So I don't see it affecting him too much. But again, I do think there is a bit of conditioning he's got to work on. I think he's probably about 10 pounds too heavy. At the draft, he was like 245, which
Okay.
is 5 pounds heavier than OG Anunoby is right now at around the same height. So that's pretty crazy. That's a big dude. So I do think that he probably could use a bit of leaning down. Not that that's going to make him that much of a higher jumper, but I will think that he get a little bit better athletically from leaning down a little bit.
Yeah, and one of the things, like, to contrast him, let's say, with Mobo, and because as you said, like, similar in terms of role. So let's
Yeah,
just put it that way. I'm like, expectations are completely different. He's much younger, way better pedigree, all of that kind of stuff. But to contrast him, my biggest concern with Mobo was the ball handling.
yeah,
And the ball handling out of Mobo was very shaky. Even in space, it seemed like he was having trouble handling the ball. And that is just complete opposite with Collin Murray-Boyles. The guy has a great handle on the ball. And in those clips that I was showing, he had some just great dribble drives. Like, he'll get the ball, attack a closeout, and he'll handle the ball through traffic, through guys trying to strip him. And he has that nice low dribble. That's a
yeah.
really good thing to see from a player his size. So a lot of the time when you see players, larger players handle the ball, they have that very high dribble where it's easy to pick off. And he
Mhm.
manages to get it nice and low, and probably helped due to his long arms, right? He can, it's kind of like you can reach down, right? If you have those longer arms, you can get the ball closer to the ground, much harder to strip that way. So what do you think about his ball handling? Do you think that there's something there that could really help him in the league?
Definitely. And I think he's confident with it too. You see a lot of players who are a bit clumsy with their dribble at first, where they really don't trust it and they're not going to go try to cut through the lane like he is. He's quite confident with it. There was a clip that was going around of a couple of the guys. I don't know if it was at Combine, but it was a couple of the prospects doing like weighted dribbling with like a whatever it was, like a 5 pound or an 8 pound ball. And out of, I think it was him, uh, Yakachonis, Saraf, and somebody else who's like a guard, he was the cleanest by far. I think his strength helps with that, but
Yeah.
he's got a handle. And I think I've seen some terrible takes saying that he's not skilled, and that doesn't make any sense to me. He's got a handle. He's excellent finishing package. Yeah, he goes mostly left, but he can still finish right. He's got a look.
Sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah,
I've got like this is, you've touched on something that is my biggest bugbear, like something that pisses me off,
yeah,
is that people, when it comes to skill, what they look at is 3-point percentage.
yes,
That is it. It is like it's just people. I get it. I understand. 3-point shooting is a really important skill. It is not the only skill.
yeah,
Okay? It is not the only skill, and you can be a very skilled player without having to shoot the ball. And guys, he has an 8-10 standing reach. If he doesn't shoot the three in his first year very well, it's not the end of the road for this guy. He's not, 6'1", okay?
yeah,
It's not as important, but you're absolutely right that he has a lot of skill. Like, the guy really does have a lot of skill.
yeah. And his functional athleticism in terms of his balance and his body control is very impressive for a
Yeah,
guy who's got such a big body. I loved what I saw from him when he did get a chance to get the ball. There were a couple times where he got a little looked off on the three
right.
because teammates weren't exactly trusting him, which sure, he's not shooting well. But I did, and I don't know if these stats will be more depressing than anything, but his 22% 3-point shooting, and I almost touched on this in the other segment, the guard shooting from the summer league roster was pretty abysmal. So
Yeah, yeah.
Elijah Martin, 35% from the floor, 23% from three. Chucky Hepburn, 22% from the floor, 23% from three. And Jamal Shed, 39% from the floor, 23.8% from three. So
Even Jacoby
CMB,
Walter was like not
yeah.
very good either.
So nobody shot it well. So he shot almost damn near as good as our guards did, which
Yeah,
is kind of funny.
and 57% from the field, and that's including the missed threes. It's all
Yeah,
baked into the cake there. But
yeah,
yeah, and the other things that he does, like with the screening, I think that he and Jamal Shed ran the pick and roll very well. I think that it generated a lot of opportunities. He does a lot of really advanced stuff with the dribble handoffs, where there's keeper plays where, he fakes the dribble handoff. He did a really good play where he faked a dribble handoff, and then immediately, a lot of the time when players and bigs keep the ball on the dribble handoff, they try and drive it. He kept the ball, but instead of driving, he just immediately passed it to Jamison Battle, who was wide open for three. That is like absolutely the correct play. That is like a super high level read. That was the exact right play there. But to touch on what you were saying in terms of like they didn't trust him with the 3-point shooting, I just don't think that he got enough opportunities. The guy only played 23 minutes a game. Obviously, a lot of that is like, some of that is fouls, some of that is other stuff. Some of that is like Mobo was also playing minutes as well. But like the guy, as opposed to other players who are like top 10 draft picks, this team was pretty stacked with players that are on the bubble and looking to come in. Not a lot of guys that were there just as a flyer. A lot of these guys either were on the team last season in a backup role or are looking to make the team this season. So I get it why he didn't play a ton of minutes, but I still wanted to see him get the ball a little bit more than he did. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on Collin Murray-Boyles. I almost said Colin Castleton, but Collin Murray-Boyles. Do you have anything else that you saw from him that you want to touch on, or?
Well, so like ideally, like I know I've spoken before about the bench having kind of a separate identity to the starting lineup, but as I was watching Colin in the summer league, I was thinking a lot of the sets and like some of the fake handoffs and stuff that they run for Scotty to get Scotty going downhill, the exact same thing can be run for Colin.
Right.
And he might even be a better finisher with a bit of a better handle. So it's very nice to be able to have certain plays that can also possibly transfer to the bench. And whether you have Jamal as the pick and roll ball handler in it, Jamal can still hit those passes. They can still be a nice two-man game between them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I saw like, it's like, okay, they could probably, a lot of the ways that they try to get Scotty going, they could probably do the exact same thing for Colin, and he might have more success sooner.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Okay, so the next segment, in terms of talking about like Jamal Shed, talking about Collin Murray-Boyles, I think we really got to talk about the bench next season. Because as I mentioned, during the summer league, there was a lot of players that were either on the team the past season or they were drafted, or, there's hope for them. There were a lot of G League guys. Chucky Hepburn, I don't know. I don't think he's going to make the team, but he'll be invited to training camp. There's a lot of guys who are on the bubble. And he didn't play in the summer league, but he was an addition. Sandro Mamukelishvili. There are a lot of guys that are on the bubble who have the potential to be a bench minutes. What am I trying to say here? They have the opportunity to get minutes off of the bench.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of competition. So there are 240 minutes per team. Okay. So 5 times 48, that is 240 minutes. Those are the minutes that you have to allocate to players, not just starters, but the bench as well. Starters usually play around like 30 to 36 minutes a game. And that generally means that there's about 75 minutes that you can give, split up, divvy up to players off of the bench. That's not a lot. That is not a lot. Okay. No. And I know that there will be injuries. They will probably, in my opinion, do at least a little bit of load managing with Brandon Ingram. They will probably be doing, day-to-day stuff with other guys, maybe if they're not feeling 100%, where other guys can get opportunities. But 75 minutes is not a lot. I think in terms of guys who I think are like kind of like a lock to get minutes, first of all, Collin Murray-Boyles. I think that Collin Murray-Boyles is probably going to play like 15 to 20 minutes a game. You don't select a guy 9th overall and then just not play him. With that said, I think that this is a team that does not mind sending guys down to the G League. A lot of the time that's like a mark of shame,
Yeah.
where you send guys down to the G League because, they're not ready yet. But the Raptors have done that with guys that have made the big squad. Pascal Siakam, obviously, Chris Boucher, Norm Powell, Fred VanVleet, all of those guys. It's kind of like a badge of honor to be sent down there and make a mark. What are your thoughts on some of the guys that you think are kind of like almost locks to be in the rotation?
I would expect Jamal Shed to be probably the closest other lock, and probably Sandro to be the other closest other
Oh,
lock, because
really?
they don't
Okay.
have the same flexibility with him. I think he's going to get probably right away a decent amount of burn.
Right.
Um, like, and again, Jamal Shed is shown to be the most capable guard. He's got a lot of what would you call it? I guess equity from the organization. Everybody always talks about, like, they love him, that he's a great leader, he's a great guy. You've got Scotty talking about him on the sideline saying, "Oh, he's very underrated," all this. So I
Yeah.
expect that he will come out of training camp with that backup guard spot his.
And and
And
and just to double down on that
yeah,
and agree with you here is that they don't really have a backup one other than Jamal Shed.
yeah,
They had Davion Mitchell last season. They don't have anybody that can really handle the ball under pressure, bring the ball up the court. Obviously, like Scotty Barnes can do that, and Emmanuel Quickly can do that. Probably RJ can do that a little bit. Well, not a little bit. He can do that.
yeah,
But in terms of like actually being a point guard and being point guard sized, they don't really have a guy other than him that can do that
yeah.
off of the bench. So I think you're absolutely correct there. Now we got to get like this is the big one. This is
The log jam, it's
the log jam.
crazy. Yeah.
So depending on who starts, there is Grady Dick, RJ Barrett, Jacoby Walter, and Ochai Agbaji. All four of those guys have a case for getting minutes off of the bench. I suspect that at least initially, RJ Barrett will get the start, although I'm not 100% there. That's just, I'd bet, just because he's been the starter for a while now.
Yeah.
But that is subject to change. I know that you've talked about the Maple Manu situation where he could come off
Yeah.
and do the sixth
And
man kind of stuff.
and Darko has talked about talking to him about that. So it almost sounds like that's a plan that Darko would want to do, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think that in the starting lineup, there are a lot of guys who are on ball players.
Yeah.
So Scotty Barnes, Emmanuel Quickly, Brandon Ingram, those guys are all going to want to have the ball at least a little bit. And it makes sense to have a lower usage 3-and-D type player, or, maybe even a specialist. Maybe Grady Dick, impresses in training camp and they decide to start him. He's kind of the more senior of the Jacoby Walter, and I guess Ochai has been in the league a little longer, but Grady Dick could have a case to make the starting lineup. Even Ochai Agbaji has a chance. Even Jacoby Walter. I think all of those guys have an opportunity to earn that starting spot. So how do you find minutes for all these guys?
It's crazy. In years past, they've run Ochai as a 4,
Yeah.
right? To try to get him minutes in that unit. But that isn't there anymore because you have CMB and Mobo kind of jockeying for that.
And Sandro. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
Sandro, if you play him next
Sandro.
to Yak,
Yeah.
he's going to eat some of those minutes too.
Exactly. So you have all that happening at the 4. So you can't really have Ochai there. And yeah, he's kind of dominates that 2 or the 3. I've advocated, like last year, I thought that balance wise, the best balance of the starting lineup is to throw Ochai in the starting lineup as a 3-and-D guy. I think that make a lot of sense. He's a pretty good like pop out standstill shooter, but he does a lot less with the ball compared to a guy like Grady. But Grady's defense is just the hole for him that is holding him back. He would really have to impress a lot with his defense to kind of grab that.
Yeah, and in terms of like where I expected Grady to be, in terms of what he brought to the table, I was expecting him to be a better movement shooter than he has been
Yeah.
He is kind of a standstill shooter. He doesn't do a lot. Like when he moves before he takes a shot, I think there was some crazy stat where it like drops his shooting percentage by like 12% or something like
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah, his mid range has been his best ability is,
right.
and even like finishing around the basket, he's shown some flair, but it's like, yeah, like he's not exactly as marketed, but it's not necessarily a bad thing because he's shown a lot more than you expected in different areas.
Mhm.
But yeah, the whole running off a screen movement shooter, he hasn't really been that.
No, but obviously he's still, they're going to give it a shot. They're going to
Yeah.
see if he can do that, because that is kind of, if he's not doing that, then he's not an
Hmm.
NBA player. You know what I mean? Like a
Yeah.
corner 3-point shooter, even a standstill 3-point shooter with a big question marks on defense, that's not really a
Yeah.
player that you're really excited about.
Yeah. But
With that,
mechanically, his shot is so clean, it's
yeah.
like you think, okay, it's gonna come around.
Yeah, I would bet that it's like, I'd still bet on him to become a plus shooter, but
Mhm.
he's got to prove it.
Yeah.
With that said, we did mention, I mean, the guy who led off the show in terms of Stonks up, AJ Lawson, right? So when you're talking about that logjam, he's one of the guys that may be a casualty of the fact that they are so loaded at that position. Where in another situation where you have this guy who had a really good summer league, and he's hometown kid, and he did have a good season last season at the end of the year, you would think that maybe he has a route to minutes, but it seems like just that log jam there is really going to sort of cap what he is able to bring. What do you think about AJ Lawson and how he figures?
No, I mean honestly, yeah, because he he doesn't necessarily have an argument over several of these players, but on the right roster, yeah, he would be a guy getting minutes, and it does seem like he'll be a casualty, or he'll be, at best a 13th, 14th man who is maybe getting in some games. I think he's a good team guy. I think there's reasons why they would keep him around on the roster.
Yeah.
But the other thing, looking at the the bench and the guys that necessarily won't get any minutes, there's an element of it that scares me, that if, similar to what happened to us this past season, that if things go wrong, say there was a major injury, say Ingram has an injury or Scotty has an injury, and they pivot and they say, okay, sorry guys, we're going to tank again. Now we've got guys like Elijah Martin getting more minutes and AJ Lawson, they're not going to be good
Elijah
enough to
Martin.
lose.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
they're,
just
they're
slipped my mind. Yeah, for sure. Another
there's
guy.
not room for him, right? But if
Yeah.
if they tank and then these are the guys that they're putting on, they're going to be too good to lose a bunch of games
Well, they're going to
because
be too good to lose to teams that are really bad. And that's
yeah,
really what happens in Mickey Mouse March, like down the stretch. You got all
exactly.
these guys. We watched it happen this past season. Shamshe, that is a wild card there, because
Hmm.
I think that they should, kick the tires on him playing
Definitely.
minutes in the NBA. So
Yeah.
he's a guy to think about. You were confident that Mamu was going to play. But one thing that I always say to anybody is that it seems like, oh, the Raptors are loaded off of the bench. This is something that everybody says every offseason
Yeah.
before they see the team play, before they see a lot of these guys, like a lot of guys, some guys will be like, oh, wow, he's a lot better than I thought he was. Most of the time, it's just like, oh, this guy sucks.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
don't know who it's going to be.
Yeah.
That's the
That's
thing. It's
true.
like maybe you have an inkling, maybe you have a theory, and you're like, I'm not quite sold on this guy as much as other people. But there's always at least like 2 or 3 players where you thought they were going to be better than they were, and they just suck. And that is
Yeah,
gonna happen. And it will happen this season. I promise you.
you're right.
And
It's
event,
I was high on Juancho Hernan Gomez and I got
yeah,
proven wrong so quickly. You're
Wancho,
right.
well, what I said about Wancho, and I've probably said this a million times, but I always said, like on Twitter and whatnot, I said, if this guy was a 35% 3-point shooter, he would be a rotation player on a
Yeah.
lot of teams in the league. He shot 25% from 3. So it's like nothing can make up for that. That's
Yeah.
just too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mamu's an interesting case because like maybe he will be kind of like Wancho, because he is kind of a similar player, but like a lot of these guys, we're gonna be able to see. So maybe it isn't necessarily a log jam. maybe it's a good thing that they have a bunch of these guys in this situation. So when somebody invariably does suck, you have another guy you can call upon to try and fill that niche. And maybe if that guy doesn't, the first guy isn't very good, the second guy will be. And then, you know, you have that safety net. So anyway, that's what I was thinking about there. Can I just quickly, I forgot to do it, and I do want to talk about it because it was a really cool moment. And I think that we should at least reference this moment. And the one that I'm talking about is the Collin Murray-Boyles moment when they did an interview with him on the sidelines, and they asked him, here, I'll just play it right now.
Job's not done. 2 more wins to go to win. You might as well win the whole thing. Have you seen the championship rings yet? Because they look legit.
Man, I'm worried about winning games before I see a damn championship ring. So I'm focused on winning before we get to that point, for sure.
I appreciate it. Good luck.
Appreciate it.
So that clip, I mean, I know that the stream and stuff, what you're seeing, I just played the clip. I don't know if you've seen it, but basically they asked him, what do you think about the championship rings for the Summer League? Are you excited about those Summer League championship rings? And he said, I don't care about the Summer League rings. Like I want to win the game first before I even think about a championship ring. That's kind of like the Kobe job's not done.
Exactly. That's the exact mentality you need to have. And that's like probably another kind of thing that he would have said in pre-draft interviews. And you know that those things drive teams crazy, especially the Raptors. You say the word win, like just because Masai's gone, I don't think that they stopped caring about the word win. So him hitting that button, I think is exactly right. And yeah, it's the right kind of winning mentality where I'm not going to touch that trophy because that's not the goal. I'm not going to do this because that's not the goal. He's thinking bigger than himself, and it's pretty cool for such a young player to be thinking like that. And it just really reinforces that I think the Raptors made the right pick.
Yeah, I think so. I think definitely the mentality. And even though Masai Ujiri is gone, you know, it's kind of baked into the pie now. It's part of the DNA, the kind of culture that he fostered. So, you know, he still lives on in spirit with this team. Now for one of the final segments here. We kind of did a little bit of brainstorming. This was kind of Steve's baby here. And I thought it was a really good idea. Steve, I just set it up for you. No pressure.
Yeah. So I mean, like I've been seeing people joke about it on Twitter, but it's like Dame's going back to Portland, CP3 is going back to LA, and they're like, why not this guy back? And it's a certain Raptor player back, usually a jokey player. But I thought about it. What would be a current player in the league, a Raptor, former Raptor, that you would like back on this roster to improve us?
Okay, so after some deliberation, I think that the player that would complement what the Raptors have the best right now would be OG Anunoby. And of course, I'm a huge Pascal Siakam homer. I'm sure everybody knows that at this point, but definitely probably one of my favorite players in the league right now. But with that said, I think that the Toronto Raptors kind of have that, you know, forward creator, ball handler, that kind of thing sewn up with, you know, Scotty Barnes, CMB, and Brandon Ingram. I think that what they could really use is like a high level, medium usage player that plays really, really good defense and is a knockdown 3-point shooter. And of course, that is OG Anunoby. OG Anunoby is certainly, in terms of being a role player, like role players kind of like, oops, just screwed up my mic here, but role players kind of like a dirty word in the NBA. Because if you say like, oh, this guy's a role player, that makes you think like this guy isn't as good as a star. So let me just say, like, I hold role players to a much higher esteem than many other players. Like, for example, I think in the first championship that the Warriors won, and through the dynasty, if you don't count KD, the second best player on that team was Draymond Green.
Definitely.
Klay Thompson, obviously one of the Splash Brothers, very important piece. I'm not totally denigrating him, but in terms of, and another guy, I know this is going to be sacrilegious to the Canadians here, but on that Denver Nuggets team, Aaron Gordon, I thought he was the second most important player on that team. Those guys who can bring like superstar level defensive energy and defensive versatility and ability. Those guys, if you're the best defender on a championship team, there's a good chance you're the second best player on that team. And OG Anunoby has that kind of DNA. That's the kind of guy where you watched him in last year's playoff. The guy showed out. He was fantastic in that Indiana series. He was good all playoffs long, hitting huge shots and playing like really rugged, tough defense. So that's who I would pick.
He was pulling out stuff that we had never seen before too, where it's like, oh, okay, now he has like a hezzy tween and he just posterized the guy. Like he used to dribble the ball off his foot. It was crazy. So yeah, definitely. And I think like when we traded OG, somebody said the Raptors are going to be looking for an OG type player for a very long time. And I think they obviously still are. And I like that choice because when you think about how it fits on this roster is the second OG was gone, Scotty Barnes was like, I'll try to be OG on defense. And it takes away from his offense.
Yeah.
All the energy that he puts trying to be the point of attack defender.
Yeah.
And he improved from the moment OG left to where he is now. He definitely took a lot of strides on that, but all his efficiency, everything suffered because there's so much energy going out that door.
Yeah.
Having OG there to take that burden off of him and let him be kind of like that help side rim protector again, that would make his offense probably take a step forward. And we've seen before when they played early rendition of the KD Booker Suns, and you had, I think it was OG on Booker and Scotty on KD, and it was a nightmare for those players. So it was like, that would be amazing having that kind of wing defense duo. Definitely. I love that. And I mean, OG is just such a funny, lovable guy. I think that's a great pick.
Well, there's somebody in the chat here. So Infamous just said, he questioned Kawhi. That's cheating. You can't pick Kawhi. I'm sorry. We should have just prefaced the whole segment by saying, like, other than Kawhi, who would you pick? Like, of course, yes, Kawhi. I mean, let's just stop the conversation.
I had the thought, and I thought, okay, well, what if we go off of it? It's Kawhi, but maybe he's going to miss half the games. Is that the number one person you want to add to this roster where maybe it's eating up a lot of that, but he's not particularly healthy? I don't know. But obviously the best former Raptor that's currently in the league, yeah, that's Kawhi. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, I mean, if you're picking OG, he has kind of similar problems, not as yeah. Okay, listen, Kawhi, if you want to be a nerd. Okay, who did you pick?
I picked my boy Norman Powell. I'm looking at fixing that 2-guard spot for us, having him come in and be the starter right away. I don't know what you do with RJ. That's a decision for another time. I know you're adding to the log jam, but he's a 42% 3-point shooter. He was he was like a super 6 man as well, but I think he did well. He was kind of a fringe all-star. If you want to think about it contractually, he has a much lower contract than some of the other guys. Most of the other Raptors that left now get paid 40-something million a year. So his contract's a bit better. And he still plays decent defense, better than a lot of the 2 guards that we have. And I think adding a guy like him probably adds something like 5 wins to your win total just by having a real pro who can hit shots, who can handle the ball some. And he was just, for me, he was one of my favorite Raptors when we had him.
Oh, absolutely. And the jump that he took after leaving the Raptors, I mean, he showed it in that last season, the Tampa season. He was like unbelievable. And it felt like, the trade, I was kind of okay with it at the time, but looking back at it, it was just like probably one of the death knells of the Raptors, especially considering that they were really lacking a bench presence. And he has been one of the best bench players, probably the best bench player in the league since he has been, on those Clippers teams. And the guy is just lethal from 3.
Yep.
And he has like the 2 dribble, like I struggle to think of a guy with better 2 dribble creation than him.
Yeah.
Attacking off of the bounce, the ability to operate in between. He's got a little bit of a floater. He can finish really, like, dunk super hard.
Yeah.
He's athletic. And what you were saying, like the problem with him is that his defense is like on ball, like he's got kind of a bit of an RJ thing going on where on ball he's fine, but he falls asleep and kind of like misses assignments and things like that. But what you're saying is true, is that he's not like a major, like he's not great, but he's okay. Which would, and when you account for the other things that he brings, which is just like amazing shooting and that lethal kind of dribble drive attack, yeah, absolutely. The guy is gonna pop off and just he's almost like guaranteed points.
Yeah.
You plop him into a lineup, he gets himself open, and he has that really quick release. He's just bangs shots and finishes.
Yeah,
And
he's a total pro.
Yeah.
And it's like it'd be a nice homecoming as well. Like, I mean, 90% of the point of Dame going back to Portland or CP3 going back to LA is just like the good vibes of the homecoming and stuff. And it's like obviously OG is the same thing, one of the more beloved Raptors players of the last 10 years. And I think Norm has a lot of fanfare too. I think a lot of people really would like to see him back too.
Yeah, and he's exactly. He's a good guy, and everybody like who's run into him, and like every time you listen to an interview or anything like that, he's always, he's definitely a guy's guy, and he radiates the energy that you want in a veteran around the younger players. And there was that weird, did you ever, like, this is going off topic completely, but there's this like really weird event that happened. He was like in Las Vegas, and this
thing
insane,
that happened at like the gym.
Yeah. That crazy woman.
Yeah.
Who, you know what? Let me just see if I can find that. Why don't you talk about Norm, and I'll look up.
Yeah, I mean, and the other like Norm thing that happened was, I don't know if you remember him getting his forehead split wide open, and he's still getting treatment for that. But it is the goriest scene I've seen in an NBA court in any time the last 5 so years, and he just got it stitched back up like a hockey player and got out there as soon as he could, and had to deal with this nasty scar on his forehead that almost looked like 21 Savage out there.
Yeah, I know funny. The 21 Savage, that was that's what everybody thinks, like when he got that diamond implanted in his forehead.
Yeah, I think the diamond is Lil Uzi, but he's got
Lil Uzi.
Yeah,
sorry, I am so out of the loop. I am so old and white that
21 Savage has like a knife on his forehead or something, and I think people thought it was a cross, but it's actually a knife. So it ended up, that's what Norm's scar looks like now.
Okay, let me unmute this because I found the clip.
Back, talking crazy, saying that we're not American, which is pretty crazy to me.
We're not American.
How am I not American?
How are we not American?
I was born and raised here.
My family.
My descendants is from Africa, yes.
My family.
But I am American. I was born here.
And I was a slave.
How were you a slave? What made you a slave?
Because I was black and my last name's Howard.
You were black?
Yes.
You got revitiligo? You like Uncle Ruckus? You seen the Boondocks? You like Uncle Ruckus?
So the woman was saying essentially that she's black too, and she was a slave. And he's like, "Are you Uncle Ruckus? Did you get the vitiligo surgery or whatever?" Like, yeah, I thought that was a pretty funny moment. But yeah, quick on his feet. He should do crowd work. He could go up in front of, do Kill Tony or something like that, and deal with the hecklers that way. So good for you, Norm. And we'll back you against the crazy Karens, the ladies who really want to, give you a piece of their mind. But yeah, that unless you can think of anything else, I'm thinking that might be a good moment to call this a show.
Yeah. Last bit of important business. Orlando Robinson signing with the Orlando Magic.
Oh, wow. This has got to be a first for a team having the name city connection. I'm sure
I've never seen that
before. I'm sure it's happened. We need to find somebody named Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto Jones. That'd be a cool name.
That would be a pretty cool name. Maybe you guys can brainstorm a good last name combo for Toronto, and we can make him in NBA 2K, give him super long arms or something like that. But yeah, best of luck to Orlando Robinson. He really impressed me when he first got here, and then he couldn't make layups. So but that's kind of an interesting bit of business. But thank you for tuning in We are obviously, I think that you may have noticed, we've added a couple of segments. We've added a couple of, doodads and new scenes and things like that for the podcast. So things are slowly creeping towards looking more professional. And thank you for coming along for the ride. If you enjoy this content, please subscribe. Please hit the like button, the bell icon, all of that wonderful stuff. Follow Steve and myself on Twitter. Steve is at Raptors Shack. Do you have any other socials that you want to pitch here, or is that
No, but we'll be starting the Raptors Report TikTok soon and getting some short form content going as well. So
yeah, he's kind of let the cat out of the bag, but that is something that we are considering doing. And yeah, you heard it here first. If you followed and listened to the end of the episode, you're in the know. And shh, don't tell anybody. But yeah, that's the episode. Hope you guys enjoy, and we'll see you next week.